back to our channel. I'm Sishan and I study History and Politics at Newnham College, Cambridge.
I'm Elvin and I do law at Corpus Christi College, Cambridge.
And I'm Sean, I study law at Worcester College, Oxford. Today, we're going to be talking about two things. Firstly, is Oxbridge for you? And secondly, choosing between Oxford and Cambridge. In each part, we will be discussing three different factors: academics, social life, and the application process. If you're struggling to decide,
Like we were when we were applying.
this video is for you.
For y'all.
First of all, we're going to be talking about how academics at Oxford and Cambridge differ from other universities. The university system at Oxford and Cambridge is a collegiate system. This means that the university is made up of about 30 different colleges. And your college is responsible for organizing your tutorials and supervisions, your accommodation, you live in your college, and it's also responsible for your welfare and your social life. So whenever you have a problem, there's always going to be someone that you know that you can turn to.
Your college organizes your tutorials or supervisions, which is small group teaching. At Oxbridge, these are normally about 1 to 2 students per tutor, whereas at other universities, there might be 8 or more people in your tutorial class. This is amazing because this means that you get a lot of individualized learning and more attention in your work, and it's the reason why I chose to apply to Cambridge, because you really don't get this kind of attention anywhere else.
But it's also bad if you've not done your reading.
Something else to note is that the terms at Oxford and Cambridge are incredibly short. Our terms are about 8 weeks long, whereas the term at another UK university could range between 10 to 12 weeks. This means that all our learning is compressed into these 8 short weeks. We also don't have a reading week.
But that means that you have longer holidays. The biggest difference between Oxbridge and other universities is going to be the workload.
Students at Oxbridge study for an average of 40 hours per week.
For example, if you're studying law at Oxbridge, you're going to be doing an average of about 8 to 12 essays a term. But if you're studying law at like a London university, for example, UCL or LSE, you're going to be having about 8 essays a year. And while this might sound stressful and might scare some people, we think this information is really important so that people know what they're getting into. I, for example, severely underestimated the amount of work that I'd be putting in. And this is some of the advice that I wished I had known before going into the university so that my expectations aligned with reality.
However, we also don't want this information to scare or discourage you from applying to Oxbridge. We're not the most hardworking people, but we still managed to pull through. And it's really because we are passionate about our subjects and we're passionate about learning new things and learning more. So as long as you have that same passion, that same drive, you can definitely manage and you will definitely pull through. And if you want to apply to Oxbridge, you should.
Moving on from academics, we'll now be talking about
The social life at Oxbridge.
So first of all, the student body composition in Oxbridge and other UK universities is quite different. In Oxbridge, there's about 20 to 25% of international students out of the whole student body, while in London universities like LSE, for example, has 70% of international students, and UCL has around 40% international. So obviously it depends on whether you prefer hanging out with a larger group of international students. If you do, then universities like LSE and UCL are a good choice. However, I don't mean to discourage you to applying to Oxbridge because there are various ways that you can meet international students too.
And honestly, it's a really good thing for you to step out of your comfort zone, broaden your horizons, and make friends from cultures you might not be so familiar with. I think it's really part of the entire university experience, going overseas for university.
To get immersed in a
and
different
being immersed in a
culture.
different culture and making the most out of it. Another thing about Oxbridge is that there's a very traditional experience that comes with it. For example, at the start of the year, you matriculate into your college, and matriculation basically means that you're formally inducted to become a member of your college. And here are some pictures from our matriculation. Other traditions at Oxbridge also include formals, which are very much like the dinners you see at Harry Potter. They are
We have
long tables.
It's like candlelight dinner.
Yeah, and there's long tables, there's a beautiful hall, there's like 3-course meals for like less than £20. It's amazing and we love it so much. It's an experience that's very unique to Oxbridge.
Wait, does Durham do it?
Applying to Oxbridge is also different from applying to other universities. Firstly, the UCAS deadline is way earlier at 15th of October, whereas the more general UCAS deadline is 15th of January.
A big part of the Oxbridge application process is that you'll normally be required to attend an interview around December, early December, and this will be just one part of your application, and we'll get to that in another video. For other universities, in general, you probably won't be required to attend an interview, though one of the many exceptions is for medicine, where you'll probably be required to.
One of the most important factors when choosing between Oxford and Cambridge is going to be the academics. Firstly, Oxford and Cambridge don't offer identical courses. At Oxford, you'll find economics and management.
And at Cambridge, you'll find economics.
Oxford offers politics, philosophy, and economics, and that is a course that's not offered at Cambridge.
At Cambridge, something that is often compared to the PPE course is the HSPS course, which stands for Human, Social, and Political Sciences. However, even though they are often compared and used interchangeably, they're both actually extremely different courses. So you should definitely check out the courses you want to study at both Oxford and Cambridge, compare them, and decide which one you would like to study more.
And even if Oxford and Cambridge offer the same course, the course structure itself might be very different. For example, law at Oxford, jurisprudence is a compulsory module, and you only have 2 optional modules in your entire course. Whereas in Cambridge, jurisprudence is not a compulsory module, and you have 6 optional modules throughout your entire course. So there's much more flexibility in the Cambridge module. So that's why it's very important to
do your research and compare the courses before deciding. Another difference between Oxford and Cambridge is the exam structure. At Cambridge, we are assessed using the TRIPO system, which means that we have formal examinations at the end of every year, and we are awarded a degree classification at the end of each year.
At Oxford, we have the final honour school system, which means that you are assessed formally at the end of your first year and at the end of your 3rd year. But your degree classification is wholly based on the results you get in the final year exam.
Moving on to the social side of things, Oxford and Cambridge aren't really that different in terms of social life.
And wherever you go, you're gonna have a pretty good time.
However, these are a few minor details that we thought we'd include in case it helps some of you make your decision.
One of the main things to note though is that Oxford is considered a city. It's much larger than Cambridge.
Whereas Cambridge is like a town, it's very quaint, it's very pretty. But if you prefer the hustle and bustle of city life, you're probably better suited for Oxford.
Both universities have many different societies that you can go to. There are many shops and many restaurants to eat out.
Wonderful Asian restaurants as well, if you miss Asian food from home. Something that Cambridge has that Oxford doesn't is actually all-female colleges. Newnham, for example, is an all-female college. The colleges may be all-female, which means that all the members of the college are female, but male visitors are still very much welcome into the college grounds. So, it's not as strict as you might think. Actually, a lot of flexibility and independence to it.
There are also some slight differences in the application process between Oxford and Cambridge. In general, the timeline when applying is going to be like this. You first have to fill out the UCAS form, then you might have to do some sort of pre-interview assessment. This could be TSA, the LNAT. Next, you might have to submit some written work as well. After all this, if you're successful, you'll be invited to an interview. At interview, you might have to do some sort of assessment as well. And if you're successful at interview, then you'll be made an offer.
In general, the grade requirement at Cambridge is higher than at Oxford. For most sciences in Cambridge, you'll be required to achieve an A-star, A-star, A, and for art subjects, you'll be required to get A-star, AA. While at Oxford, you might be required to get A-star, AA, or AAA.
And if you've done the IB, usually at Cambridge, the standard offer will be 40 to 42, 776 at higher level, whereas at Oxford, it's going to be 38 to 40, 666 at higher level, but this depends on the course.
Another thing to consider is that at Cambridge, they're more likely to give you an interview. Cambridge normally interviews around 75% of applicants,
whereas Oxford only interviews about 50% of applicants. So if you think your strength lies in your speaking abilities, then maybe Cambridge might be the university to consider.
That's it for the video today, guys. We hope it was helpful, and do stay tuned for more videos on the process of applying to Oxbridge as international students.
Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe.
And if you have any more questions, feel free to comment them down below and we'll try to get back to everyone.
Bye.